Do you submit? Masturbator? There's pizza if anybody likes some. Yes. What is what? What is my salary? Oh, yeah. Yeah, she said she was going to spend. She's like, I'm too cool for you guys. I told her. يا هلا بحالك وسهلا تقبل الله الله يبارك. Yeah, it was really fun. The weather was okay. It wasn't bad. Yeah, like when you start walking, everything warms up. It's all good. Yep. Oh, if you guys want pizza. Some. Barakallah. I meant to say unsafe. How many Imam, remember? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Last week we had finished our discussion around what aspect of arrogance? Around wealth. I know that Imam Ghazali, he spent a lot of time talking about those people who were actually wealthy. We spent more time talking about what our relationship with money looks like and what our expectations around it are and what can happen in a relationship and how that actually takes a toll on different relationships. We spoke specifically about marriage and the role that it can and the toll that it can take on marriages, especially if financial expectations are not met. We also talked about our attitudes toward wealth, like what the attitude of many men looks like toward wealth and what the attitude of many women looks like toward wealth, and how that can create a disconnect within the relationship, which is why many times those relationships break. So today, inshallah, we're going to go through a series of them. He doesn't spend a lot of time discussing in major detail some of these things, and the reason that Imam Ghazali does that sometimes is because everything he talks about is cumulative, right? So he'll talk about something, and if he feels that he discusses the means of engaging with that type of arrogance, he's not going to go through the method again. Does that make sense? So today, inshallah, we're going to talk about just physical strength. Right, mashallah. Allahumma barik. Oh, I thought you were pointing at me. So over here, how can we deal and how can we manage this arrogance when it comes to physical strength? And who is it that Imam Ghazali is talking about here? Who is it that he's pointedly discussing? I'm sorry? Soldiers? Possibly, maybe. Right, generally, this usually is with men, right? And when it comes, like amongst men, physical strength is something that is very important to them. Even if you look at what motivates men and how they view each other, it's really interesting. So, if in general, if a man sees another man who's very muscular and who's really strong, what is the attitude that those men have toward him? Do they have like a very tear him down type attitude? No. Huh? It's usually admiration, right? It's admiration in the sense like, man, I need to get there, right? So you do have that. I think amongst men, the way that men view each other, especially when it comes to these different physical capacities, is very different than how women view each other and how they deal with each other. This is, again, something important to be aware of, that if you have these fundamental differences in how we view each other and how we view within our particular gender, it gives us an insight and it gives us an idea on how to control some of those shortcomings that we all have. And one of the things that Imam Ghazali is very much pointing to us as men is like, we very much take pride in our physical strength, right? It's something that we take a lot of pride in. So what can women do with this information? What can they learn? To compete with them in physical fitness? To admire? Wow, okay. To admire men that are physically strong, mashallah. No, well, I mean, that's not what he's talking about here, right? I was just talking about general attitudes. But I'm saying, okay, tayyib, if Imam Ghazali is specifically talking about men and how they take pride in their strength, what is something that women can learn from this? Because you have many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he'll address just men, right? And there are many times he'll address just women. There are times where the Prophet ﷺ will address just men. There are times where he'll address just women. Sometimes he'll address them both. But when we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressing a particular gender, what should the other gender take note of? Okay, right. Sure. Right, just mindset, right? And it gives insight into the mindset of the other gender. Okay, what else? Sure. Okay, so yeah. Sure, and that's fine, right? So understanding that there's different valuation structures within each gender, I think that's something that's really important. And if women understand that men highly value physical strength, then what? If a man and woman get into an argument, and immediately a woman starts attacking a man's strength. He can't abuse it. Huh? He shouldn't abuse it. Right, so this is when he's talking to men, right? Immediately when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about I would say, the different gifts that he's given men and women. All right, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you this gift, then and I'm pointing it out to you, you are not allowed to abuse it, 100%. But as a woman, if a woman attacks a man's strength, because she's aware of this now and how important it is to him, so why is she doing that? Now she's going for his pride. And when you go for a man's pride, what happens? Like as a woman, so whether it be a wife, whether it be a mother, whether it be a sister, right, whether it be a colleague, the moment a woman attacks your pride as a man, what happens? I'm sorry? Feels good for the masochists? Huh? Right, so usually when somebody's pride is hurt, they can retaliate. And when we're attacking somebody's pride and ego points, what kind of retaliation are we going to get? Are we going to get like a regular retaliation, or it's going to be an overcorrection? Right, you're going to get an overcorrection. So if this is the lesson, that if you want to incite a man as a woman, what is one of the things that you can attack? His physical strength. And if I understand the trigger of a man, I am now responsible to make sure that I avoid those particular triggers. Does that make sense? And it applies both ways. That there are certain things, like we had, did we discuss beauty already or no? We discussed beauty? The opposite holds true for women, right? Their valuation of beauty is very different from how men value beauty. And it's, if I wanted to attack a woman's pride or ego, what do I attack? Her beauty, her physical beauty. Again, understanding each other's triggers. There's a reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He makes these very plain to us. It is not, I know I say this a lot, that it's not my job to make you happy, but it's the thing that I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to honor and respect everyone. Yes? And how do I honor and respect them? By avoiding certain topics or understanding how to deal with them in a very nuanced way. So if I have a brother or a husband or a father or a coworker that is physically weak, how do I manage that and how do I deal with that? Right? It's important. It should not be used as an attacking point. I have to be very nuanced with how I deal with that. Or if I, as a man, a mother, sister, daughter, wife, I don't feel they're presenting themselves, like it's not in a good presentable manner. Right? Islamically, she might be covered. But if I don't feel that she's putting her out in a presentable way, I'm not talking about beautifying, just being presentable. Like mismatched clothing, like, you know what I mean? Like it's very doable, it's possible, and even though you maintain the Shari'i guidelines. How I approach that, again, as a husband, father, I have to be extra careful. And the reason for that is because as Muslims, we are not allowed to be malicious. Can I say some things like, you know what I mean? Like if I say some things in a way that I didn't intend, right? That happens. We all misspeak. But I can't intentionally do what? I can't intentionally hurt people. And it's amazing how the opposite of that, learning how to bring happiness to a person, right? Again, my job is not to make them happy, but learning how to bring happiness to a person. The Prophet ﷺ, how does he describe that? He describes that as sadaqah, right? He describes it as charity. This is what we're supposed to do. Like, we should be beacons of light. We should be beacons of happiness. Like, these are the things that we should be helping to cultivate within our circles, to cultivate within our families, to cultivate within our communities. And if we're constantly attacking these trigger points, right? And many of us know exactly what those trigger points are. Sometimes those trigger points can be looks, they can be strength, they can be relationships, they can be particular relationships. Right? And the moment we know that weak point about that person, what do? We try to take advantage of it, and we actually try to hurt the person. Like, the goal is to hurt that individual and to hurt that person. I'm sorry? No, that's exactly what you're doing. Sometimes you bring that person in the conversation knowing that that's going to pull that person out, right? Or pull out a characteristic about that person. And why do you want to do that? It's because you're pulling this person out so you can undercut them. Right? Again, as Muslims, we're not allowed to be malicious. Like, we shouldn't intentionally try to hurt people. We shouldn't intentionally try to bring them down. If anything, we should try to bring happiness to every situation that we're in. And not just that, what are the type of people that we want to be around? Like, do we want to be around vicious people? Like, nobody enjoys that. Listen, the occasional friction in the relationship, I think those things are healthy, right? Sometimes we'll say things, sometimes we'll call each other out, sometimes we'll even be blunt about certain things. It's like, hey man, like you're being a real jerk right now. Like, why are you talking to me, or why are you saying X, Y, Z? Right? That friction is very important, because that's actually how we build relationships. Relationships isn't like liking all of my posts on Instagram, right? It's not a friendship. A friendship is actually, how are we managing those friction points? And how are we helping each other assert our boundaries, right? That's what a healthy relationship looks like. And why is that? Like, why are boundaries so important? Because that's where happiness comes in, right? Happiness, subhanAllah, it doesn't come through fulfillment of worldly needs, right? It doesn't do that. Why? Because those goalposts are constantly shifting and changing, right? And I know I had mentioned this previously, but if I want something, right, whether it be a new pair of shoes, whether it be a car, whether it be a purse, whatever it might be, where's the happiness spike in that? Do you guys know? It's right before you get it. Meaning that my happiness spikes here, and the moment I get the object, what happens? It actually drops, right? It actually drops. And it's something I myself experienced. I wanted a new car, right? So what did I do? I was like, okay, the market for used cars doesn't make any sense. Let me go buy a new car. The moment I got in the car, I'm like, oh, it's missing this feature. Oh, I wish I had gotten this option. But going to, like, up until the point I got the car, I was really happy. And the moment I get it, what happens? It's like, subhanAllah, it's like actually counterintuitive. It's like, okay, you invested everything into this object. You invested everything into this job. You invested everything into this asset. You invested everything into this person, right? Like, and this happens. And the moment I get it, my happiness actually drops off. And then what do? Then I look for something better. It's like, okay, I got this kind of car, now I want this kind of car. I got this type of shoes, I want this type of shoes. I got this type of laptop, now I want this type of laptop, right? It's a never-ending chase. And it's amazing how he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he tells us very clearly. He said, whoever chases the dunya will never catch it. And whoever runs away from the dunya, it will forever chase him. So this idea of power and strength, it's something that we definitely strive for. And it gives us power, it gives us ability, right? It gives us strength that we seek because we feel like we get control, right? Essentially, that's what it is. Like, we're all looking for control. And that control can be in happiness, it can be in sadness, it can be in strength, it can be in grief, right? There are things that we're always looking to control the situation. And the worst place any of us can be is when we're anxious, when we're unsure. But sometimes we have to make that decision. And it's not an easy one. Sometimes I have to make the decision that is going to hurt me. Sometimes I have to embrace the pain that I've been running away from. Sometimes I have to absorb the grief that I didn't want to feel, right? Like we have to. Like it's a part of who we are. We have to learn how to embrace these different emotions. Otherwise, there's no way for us to actually process it. And the more we push those emotions down, and the more we avoid them, what happens is, like, they manifest in ways that we cannot control. We get angry at odd things. Sometimes we'll start crying for no reason. Why? Because we're not creating those channels. We're not creating those outlets. And wanting strength is fine. Wanting wealth is fine. Wanting status is fine, right? There's nothing wrong with this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed the love of these things in our hearts. And seeking them is healthy too. Because there's a certain level of wealth that we need to live. There's a certain amount of status that I need to interact with society and for people to trust me. There's a certain amount of strength that I need because we will, inshallah, get old. And when we get to that age, I don't want to be reliant on anyone. And the only way for me to get to that age successfully is if I take care of my body. Am I exercising? Am I dieting? Right? Like, things that sometimes we don't think about, but the reality is like this body's an amana. It's a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And can I stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, yeah, I took care of this vehicle. I took care of this body. Like, imagine our body like a car. Can I stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tell him I took care of my car? It's like, I never put air in the tires, I never changed the oil, I never I never did anything. And then I'm going to complain about it. Oh, my knees, my this, my that. It's like, okay, there are certain things that do come with age, and there are some people who have genetic predisposition for certain things, which is understandable. But what was my contribution? Did I make a healthy contribution or an unhealthy one? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. So this one's really interesting, but it basically has to do with during Ghazali's time there was a big problem with social media influencers, and no, but the groupie. But the thing is, this is nothing new, right? It's nothing new. He always had this issue specifically, that he would look at his teachers, he would look at other people, and he'd be like, whoa, why is this guy followed by so many people? Like, what is going on? What is this? But that's what people sought. That's what they were looking for. They were looking for followers. Not any different from today. It's the same thing. And these societal illnesses, they will always permeate society. Always. The only difference is going to be how they manifest. And sometimes there are certain things that are worse than others. SubhanAllah, the one thing I was very shocked to hear, zina has actually gone down. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Yeah, there is. But it's mostly self-reporting, right? It's mostly self-reporting, like, when was the last time you had sex and this and that. Why has it gone down? Because there are many men who just aren't motivated to go anywhere. They're not motivated to leave the house. They just stay home. They're not interested in engaging, forget women, they're not interested in engaging others. Right? There's a lot of, we live in an era where isolation is increasing, which is kind of counterintuitive considering the access that we have to people. But the problem is like when you have so much access, what happens? You don't know where to channel. Like you don't know where to put your energy. And I think the problem that many of us have is we're not good with noise. Like when we hear a lot, we don't know how to silence it. And this happens sometimes with especially couples who are having problems. What happens many times is like, oh well, my dad told me this, and she'll be like, yeah, I was talking to my sister and she was saying this, right? Like, and you have so many people talking and giving input, but the issue is are any of those people facing your problems or issues? No. They have their own problems and issues, there's no doubt, right? But what I'm facing and what I'm dealing with, like they're not dealing and facing with any of those things. So I have to learn to block out the noise. But we have a hard time doing that. And part of the reason is because we're always looking for validation. We're always looking for societal support. We have become so unsure of our decisions that we become paralyzed and we don't make those decisions ourselves. And the reason we stay in that space is because, oh, I don't know what my uncle's going to say, or I don't know what my neighbors are going to say, or I don't know what they're going to say at work. And to help give a little perspective, I'm like, I'll ask many times, are those people like actively contributing to helping you guys fix things? Well, no, they're not. Are they paying for you? Well, no, they're not. So then why are you worried? And this could be parents, right? Like people who are extremely close to us. But we're so invested in what other people think that we will allow ourselves to be in positions of indecisiveness for long periods of time. And like I said, anxiety is one of the worst places a believer can be in. And the reason I can say that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always gives us a choice. Always. Do we like the choices all the time? No, not necessarily. But we do have one. And if I have a choice between bad and worse, I'll make the bad decision every time. And why is that? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only going to test me according to my ability. And if I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested me this, I have to take what is better for me. And the reality is, nobody else is going to look out for me like me. Nobody's going to care about my health like I care about my health. Nobody's going to care about my job like I care about my job. And if and when I understand that, it allows my tawakkul to be that much stronger. Because I truly have to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I want to make a good decision, Allah's already given me the formula on how to make a good decision. A good decision does not mean a good outcome. I want to be very clear. Making a good decision doesn't necessarily mean a successful outcome. It only means that this is the best that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had intended for me. And how do I make a good decision? I know I repeated this enough. There are two steps to making a good decision. Istikhara and istishara. Ziti khair. I make istikhara to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I ask Him to bless my decision. I do istishara, I seek counsel from others who are appropriate. And this is something that's really important. Sometimes we forget, I have to share all the information, even the information that will work against me and work against my favor. How come we're shy? No, Allah already knows. Why am I shy? Like when I seek advice, the advice is only good as the information that's presented. Yes? So why do I withhold some information? Right, so we seek validation. Or by hiding certain information, there's a certain outcome that I'm seeking. And I know if I hide this piece of information, there's a good chance that this person will advise me to go ahead and proceed. Example, I had a couple that wanted to come and get married. I said, okay, no problem. I was like, did you guys have, these conversations? I spoke to them about certain things. And they were like, yeah, you know, alhamdulillah, we're good. We agree on everything. I said, okay, bismillah. They came back a week later. And she was like, I don't want to be married to him anymore. I was like, what happened? He was like, you know, he's still talking and flirting with other women. I was like, yeah, it's like my Jews. I was like, you can't do that. It's like, you're married and this and that. He's like, I've always been like this. I was like, interesting. So I asked the young woman, I was like, did you know he was like this? Yeah, we broke up 3 times before for the same reason. And I said, and you didn't share this with me because what? Because you thought you could fix him. Did you? I said, you have a choice now. Either you can proceed with the divorce, and that's fine. I'm willing to help you guys. I said, or you have to put up with him. Because he's already said, and I asked him, I was like, you know, please, just make intention that you're going to change. He's like, inshallah. make dua. I was angry that he was sinning, right? But I wasn't angry that he was owning it. Does that make sense? It's like, yo, I didn't change. I am who I am. She knew who I was. And we've had this problem before, but this time she was like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to get married. So I was like, listen, you kind of put yourself in this situation, not justifying what he's doing. What he's doing is wrong, there's no doubt. But he did not misrepresent himself. If anything, you misrepresented yourself. Well, how's that? Because you made it look like you were able to tolerate his flirting and his talking to other women. When reality is you can't. And you have every right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, please don't get it twisted. You have every right not to tolerate that. But then you also shouldn't marry him. It's hard, right? Sometimes our nafs wants things. And sometimes we're willing to hide things. Sometimes we're willing not to share things because there's a specific outlook that we're seeking and a specific outlook that we want. So we have to be careful of this idea of social validation. Even though it's extremely powerful, it's really, really powerful. It's really, really difficult to say no to a group of friends because we might lose a friendship. It's difficult to stand up to the social hierarchy. It's hard. Even when we recognize it, even when we see it. But it's tough. Alhamdulillah. I think sometimes we can, sometimes we don't, sometimes we choose not to. But essentially, we're afraid of losing our quote-unquote friends. And we have to ask ourselves, like, is this person, are these people really my friends? So he just gives some examples. He talks about kings, like trying to have bigger and bigger armies because they're always trying to flex on each other. Scholars, they talk about number of students. Today's day and age, number of followers, right? It's not any different. It's all the same, right? It doesn't matter. Looking throughout history, you'll find the same themes time and time again. How it manifests is going to be different. He closes by saying, take stock of the blessings that we have. And those blessings can be in our beauty, they can be in our strength, they can be in our wealth, they can be in our status, they can be in our religion and how we practice it, they can be in our knowledge and how we share it. Right? There's so many pathways to this. And Imam Ghazali says, if you look at these things individually, they're actually ni'am, right? They're actually blessings. And if I understand that this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what gives me a right to abuse that gift? What right do I have? Allah gave it to me. This is not something I deserve or something that I earned on my own. And someone might be like, well, you know, I worked out to get to this point. Okay, who gave you the health to even get to that point? Some people don't have the genes. Like, they just don't. It doesn't matter how much they work out, doesn't matter what they do, right? They'll hit a ceiling, right? There's only so far they can get. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed you to get here. How are you giving back? How are we being thankful? If Allah has taught me, am I teaching others? If I'm attractive, what should I not do? Don't be a fitna for people. Don't. It's important. Learn. That should be a lesson for more humility. Like, Allah has made us all different. And it's important for us to recognize that so that we can be so we can have better recognition of our blessings. He also says that, listen, even I have these categories, it's not limited to these categories. Right? There's so many other things, so many other blessings that people can have that they can be arrogant with. So don't think that these categories, what I'm doing is I'm limiting them here. No, these are just examples. And these are the largest broad examples that he brought with and that he shared. He also wants us to put in perspective that, okay, just because you have two people who appear to have the same thing, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala weighs those people is going to be very different. At the end of the day, what we deal with here and what we see here is just like a physical manifestation and a physical expression. What happens in the heart is like none of us know. This is between him and Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he reminds us, he says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Right? The one who is the most noble to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in his eyes, is the one who has the most taqwa. And if we understand that taqwa is a trait that we cannot measure, what gives us the right to deal with people in different ways? Someone might say like, oh, this guy's a drunkard, or this guy cheats people, or this guy does this, or this guy does that, or this woman does this. How do you know that Allah didn't accept just one of their good deeds and enter him into his paradise, or enter her into his paradise? How do we know? Right? Or just because a person's like, oh man, they're so good and we see them all the time and they're doing this and they give lectures and talks and they're always, okay, how do you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't punish him for something that he did to someone else? Or he took advantage of one person? We really don't know. Oh man, that person doesn't pray and he doesn't do this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, he's built about 100 masjids. Like, I'm not saying not praying is good, but like that's a lot of good, right? Like on this side, like, yeah, this is a problem. I agree, but man, I haven't even built a room. Like this guy built 100 masjids. That perspective is important. Why? Because it allows us to honor and respect others. Right? That's what we have to do. When I treat the other person as if I don't know they're standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the only choice I have to do is to honor and respect them. That's it. And when am I allowed to go beyond that? Is if I get disrespected, right? I have every right to respond. But if I'm being shown respect, regardless of how they look or they act or how they deal with me, as long as they're being respectful, they have access to my respect and they have access to my honor. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for assistance through his kindness and his mercy, and that he allow us to escape the chains of arrogance and to recognize the blessings that he Azza wa Jal has given us. Ameen. And he Azza wa Jal, it's kind of interesting how he ends with this, when he talked about power and strength and how important that is, and kind of reminding ourselves, like, regardless of how wealthy we are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns everything. Regardless of how strong we are, he Azza wa Jal is the strongest. Regardless of how beautiful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more beautiful. So it helps give a little bit of perspective behind some of these things. We ask him Azza wa Jal to give us tawfiq. Inshallah, next week I'm traveling, and then the following week I should have class. But if you guys are in the announcement group, inshallah I'll send the update. But we'll talk about, okay, well, what is it that actually pushes us to be arrogant? And if we understand those roots, it kind of helps us cut those off, and it teaches us the path, inshallah, and one of the things that he will talk about is the path to humility. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us all humble. Jazakumullah khair. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin. Nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Any questions? An effeminate man. No. So, even in Islam, sexuality is a spectrum. All right? Did you guys get that? No. Okay. So, but yeah. No. But what does that mean? It is a spectrum, even though there's a point where, like, it's a spectrum within men and it's a spectrum within women. right? It's not a spectrum that they can cross over, right? That doesn't exist. But are there men who are very masculine? Are there men who are very effeminate? And the same holds true for women, right? There are women who are very effeminate, and there are women who are very masculine. So that's all that means. Now, in general, if we go more toward the center, right? So if you go from masculinity and femininity here, the more a man moves toward femininity, is that looked at as something praiseworthy or dispraiseworthy? Dispraise. And the same thing holds for women, right? Like the more masculine she becomes, the more it's looked down upon. That's all. So if a man has effeminate traits, it's very different than him being effeminate. You know, are there men who are like a little bit, oh man, no, like a little dainty, you know what I mean? Like they carry themselves like very lightly. Huh? I have a class specifically for that. So like, are they? Yeah, there are. You know, they exist. Is that a judgment of the person's character of the person? No, it's not, right? Like, are there men who have like squeakier voices and like higher voice? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so there might be like effeminate traits that exist within that person. It doesn't make the person good or bad, right? It's not a judgment call on them. But if a man has very effeminate traits, that means they need to start actively pushing against them and working to be more masculine. And the same thing applies for women, right? Like if a woman is like, she's like too masculine, I remember one of my cousins, she had told me this one time. She said that one of the hardest times that she had after she got married was actually submitting to her husband. And the reason for that is because she was a police officer. So she was used to like beating up other men, right? Like and she was really strong, and like she would curse like a sailor. Like she was just like these are like very, very masculine traits. And she was like, I had to actually train myself to become more effeminate. And that's actually praiseworthy, right? Like the more a man embraces masculine traits and more a woman embraces like feminine traits, like the better in general it is for them. Again, being in these spaces, like where you're more toward the center, it doesn't make you less of a person, but there are certain traits that we should definitely try to aim for. Some of us have further to go. Yeah, some of us have dainty walks. Anything else? No? Jazakumullah khair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. I'll see you guys inshallah in a couple of weeks. Allahu a'lam wa sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. These are garbage, man. I have to throw these coins away. Yeah.
I'll grab the shoes. I was like to FC, I was like last time.
هلا يا أحمد. تحت أمرك. تحت أمرك. تفضل. تمام.
بس رائع جدا. أنا ضحكت. أنت مصرت جسديا؟
Where does this go?
This goes in Shahid's office. It should be open. 1 second.
لا زوجتي صومالية.